Naval once wrote, "Life is a single-player game. We're born alone and we die alone. In between, we must learn to know ourselves, love ourselves, lose ourselves, find ourselves, and do all of it over again. All of your life's most important moments you experience alone. You suffer pain alone. You enjoy the dopamine high of victory alone. Even things you experience in the presence of another person, your first love, first kiss, first time, you ultimately live through inside your own head and thus alone." This is both beautiful and utterly terrifying. Whilst I want to stop living inside of my head and live in the real world in the present, ultimately Naval is right. No one is with us more than we are. So what are you like when you're alone? Do you like being alone? And more importantly, do you like you when you're alone? I feel like our culture today isn't really geared towards being alone. We're always so tuned in with what other people are doing and what they're thinking. We wake up and we instantly check out what other people are up to. We consume ourselves with their thoughts and their images, and even in the moments where it should be about us, we're often wondering what other people are thinking about us, or at least I am anyway. And thinking about what other people think about us not only holds us back, but it also means we stop thinking about what we want. I've been physically alone, but often my head is still around others, and it becomes hard to see me when my head is like this. And for a long time, I did think that I had lost myself, and all I wanted to do was find myself again. It seems like most people in their 20s have to go travelling in order to find themselves, but instead I read this quote which really hit me hard. Finding yourself is not really how it works. You aren't a $10 bill in last winter's coat pocket. You are also not lost. Your true self is right there, buried under cultural conditioning, other people's opinions, and inaccurate conclusions you drew as a kid that became your beliefs about who you are. Finding yourself is actually returning to yourself, an unlearning, an excavation, a remembering who you were before the world got its hands on you. Wow. Just wow. This really made me stop and reflect. I'm so different now to the way that I was as a child, and obviously we all are because we all have to grow up. But there's also life experiences which impact us in ways that maybe we weren't prepared for or didn't really want or plan. I remember as a child singing a lot. I loved to be on stage, and I not only wanted to be on stage, I was happy to be at the front, having fun. I dressed in ways that just felt like me, and I listened to whatever music I wanted to, not worrying if the music I was listening to was cool enough. And I spent a lot of time in my sketchbook, drawing and painting, not worrying how good my art was. A lot of this, rather unfortunately, has changed. This is partially through negative events in my life which have affected me without me even realising, but it's also come through my own choices. For example, I realised that, especially during uni, I was so focused on my career as a dentist that I let everything else slip away. We sometimes concentrate so much on where we're going that we forget who we are now or who we were before, and a lot of people keep busy for this reason. Maybe they're not truly happy with themselves, that they chase things and fill all of their time to fill the voids. But by doing this, those voids don't go away. They worsen as we get lost in them. So how do we undo this? Well, I saw another quote which summed it up perfectly for me. Productivity is how you run away from yourself. Creativity is how you become yourself. Productivity is great when it's mindful, but it's definitely been tarnished by instant gratification and hustle culture. But creativity is still pure. Society hasn't ruined that for us, at least not yet. A psychologist describes creativity as a central source of meaning in our lives. Most of the things that are interesting, important, and human are the results of creativity. And when we are involved in it, we feel that we are living more fully than during the rest of life. I loved that. I was at my family home in London a few weeks ago, and I took out some of my old sketchbooks. And as I sifted through the pages, I remembered what it was like to be a child. I was curious, my eyes were wide open to the world, and when I was in a sketchbook, I was interpreting my own thoughts and feelings about the world. But with time, and as I got older, my thought process became more rigid. It became refined through the lens of society. Creativity is more than art, music, literature, or even innovation. It's about seeing possibilities. It's our ability to tap into our inner pool of resources, knowledge, insight, information, inspiration, and all the fragments populating our minds that we've accumulated over the years just by being present and alive and awake to the world, and to combine them in extraordinary new ways. So maybe this is the ability to produce something, or maybe it's the ability to express ourselves. Maybe it's an external activity, or maybe it's just internal curiosity. Creativity allows us to cross the boundaries of the existing world to one created by the will of someone else. And when you think about it, it's really creativity that's driven us forward. Just think about technology and smartphones and social media. These were all creations of someone. So what's actually happening to our creativity? A creativity test was actually carried out in 1968 on 1,600 children. The first test was carried out when they were 5 years old, and then they were retested at 10 and then 15. At age 5, 98% of the children scored at a genius level. This means that their creativity in coming up with new ways of addressing problems was really high. At age 10, this number of 98% decreased to 30%, and by age 15, it decreased to 12%. And when a similar test was done on 280,000 adults with the average age of 31, the results were 2%. Kids are so joyous, they're playful, they're completely themselves. They don't sit there wondering who they are in the world, they're just instinctively them. So maybe it really is our loss of creativity that causes us to lose ourselves as adults, and that's why we so often struggle to be alone. I've really begun to believe that it's our search for creativity which will mean something different to each and every one of us, that is the search for what is our own. I think it's the thing that can bring us to life. We're also different in so many ways, but I think our creativity can especially unlock our individuality. I think it's the thing that unlocks the core of our souls. So how do we even get in touch with our own creativity? Honestly, I really don't know how to answer this because I think it's going to be different for everyone. For me, it was a case of exploring new things and looking back at what I loved as a child. But I also think spending time with myself and practicing mindfulness has also really helped. I think we just need to be open to new experiences, let our imaginations run wild, make time to reflect, and cultivate a spirit where we don't always conform to society. I think finding our creativity is the essence of self-exploration. We all want to become who we really are, and maybe this is how to. And when we align with who we really are, then that's when we thrive.